Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coco with me, your host, Coco. We are going to have a fun show today. As I have been telling you for the last two episodes, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I had two different mental health shows this month. I appreciate those of you that checked into that listened to my last episode with my best friend. That one was a great one. Appreciate her for coming. And I also wanted to thank my guest earlier this month, Sarita, for coming as well. I think that Mental Health Awareness Month was successful, and I am happy about it. Is everything okay? Okay, sorry. I'm trying to make sure everything's good with my child. Okay, so waiting to excel. So waiting to excel. I did not pull any of the years for the movie. You know, it came out late 90s, I'm sure. For those of you that have never seen the movie before, it consists of four grown ass women. You have, are you at Sherman? Yes. Can you put it up on the screen for me so I can go in order? Okay, so you have Layla Rashawn, all the way over to the right. She played Robin. You have Angela Bassett. She played, I think it was Bernadette or Bernadine. You have Whitney Houston. She was Savannah. And then you have Gloria, who was Loretta Devine. And what's crazy about this is all of them were in their like mid 30s in this movie. The youngest one would have been Robin, which was Layla's character. And I swear, watching this movie back then and knowing that they were like mid 30s is crazy because I don't know why that seemed so old back then. And now that I'm mid to late 30s, I don't know. That was just a crazy ass realization. Um, so in my mind, when I watched this movie younger, to me, it felt like eavesdropping on like my mom's conversation with her friends or sisters, not really understanding the extent of what was going on, but knowing that it was some good gossip and it was a good movie. Now, fast forward, going through some shit and living life. This is definitely one of those movies that hit completely different for several reasons. Number one thing that I appreciate about this movie that I didn't back then was like the friendship aspect. I think that as a woman, it is very important to have like that good, close group of girlfriends that you can turn to in time when you need it. Um, and I said it time and time again, like my friendships with Black women have literally saved my life repeatedly, like on a daily basis, I would say. And so that's something that I appreciated rewatching this movie, just how close they were. And I say on the show all the time, duality is a thing, two things can be true at the same time. I liked how, yes, they had fun and they were there for all of the good times, but they also held each other accountable. When one of them was on some bullshit, it was called out and they were told about themselves. And the intent was always with love, and the intent was always to move them forward in the right direction. And I definitely appreciated that because that's what friendship is. It's not all about the fun times. You do have to have people in your life that hold you accountable as well. So that is definitely something that you see throughout this movie. Um, I also realized how like TTG Robin's character was, because when the shit hit the fan, she was ready to go. The other ones was trying to talk sense. That wasn't Robin, and I definitely appreciated that. Um, Now we break it down a little bit more. You have Savannah, who is Whitney Houston's character. And throughout the movie, she was really just trying to like find and secure love. And that journey was not always the best for her. Kind of kept running into some BS. One scene that I remember is when she went on the first date. I don't remember what his name was, but it was their first date and he had her there and he literally had like another chick there too, who was played by, I think that was Kenya Moore's character. And fun fact about him is he played Kenny in Soul Food, and Kenny was the husband of Vivica Fox's character, and I don't remember what her name was in Soul Food, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But that was just a little fun fact. Um, I realized I didn't care for Savannah's mom and how she really, I feel like she didn't give her what she needed when she needed it. It was like her mom just wanted her to just be with anybody, just to be with them. And if you don't know, when you hear on social media and they're like, that's a good man, Savannah, that was her mom. And the guys that she was trying to like get her to be with, it wasn't gonna work for her. And I felt like her mom could have kind of maneuvered a little better with that, in my opinion.
You think she was projecting?
I do. I think that she definitely was projecting, but I also think too, I mean, with the older generations, they kind of just got married really just to be doing it. And her mom was probably like, you're not getting any younger, like, just go for it. And I just kind of wished it wasn't like that, although it's like I get it. But yeah. Gloria, I'm not really gonna focus on her too much. I mean, she's a single mom, grown up son. I think her son's dad I think he was gay. Please don't quote me on that, but if I remember correctly, I think he was. And then Robin was just out here in these streets. She was dating and trying to figure shit out. That's just what she was doing. But I really wanted to focus on Bernadette, which is Angela Bassett's character. Now, again, watching this movie before, younger, I did not realize the extent of what she went through. I think I was just like, oh my God, she set the car on fire. Like, why would she do that? But watching it back, it's like you had a husband. Your husband moved y'all to this neighborhood, made your kids go to this white school when where they were the only two black kids. He left you for a white woman. He stole all your money. Speaking of, let's put him on the screen for a second.
And I do want to make sure that he's a Giancarlo Esposito.
Who's that?
He was the actor that played
Kenny and Soul Food?
No, the father, the Gloria's ex-husband, the one that was gay.
So he was gay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying. I just say that because he was that. There's a star-studded movie. Like he's a great actor, and he was like.
Wait, what's his name?
Is it Giancarlo? Giancarlo.
Would I know him if I saw him? Well, like he was in other movies.
School Days. He was.
I think
Big Brother Almighty from School Days.
Okay, I think that's who I'm picturing in my mind.
I forgot what else he played in.
He played in something recently, but I know what you're talking about.
He's in everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I just wanted to make sure that
No. But I
like popped up in the movie like, oh, he in here too?
I feel like he popped up also.
Because Wesley Snipes is in it. And Waiting to Exhale.
It was as I was putting this together, we gonna get there with Thin Line, but I was like, Bobby Brown. I didn't remember that.
You don't remember Bobby Brown?
I didn't remember that until I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, Guy Tori. We're gonna get there actually, and I'm gonna talk about the things where I was like, wait, what? But okay, so her husband in here, Michael Beach. Let me tell you about him, right? He left her for a white woman. He stole all her money, and he was just trash. And you probably recognize him. We're gonna get there. But he was also Terry's husband, Miles, in Soul Food, and he was a liar, a cheater, and a thief in that movie too. But yeah, you take him off the screen. We're not gonna give him more than what he needs. And that's how you know these actors do real good, because why I don't like you in real life? That mean you did your job. You can go back. But yeah, I think that her scene for sure was like profound in, being in relationships that kind of went sour. I was able to understand her and like that pain from a completely different perspective. So it's like, yeah, I understand why you put the bleach on the clothes and you set the car on fire. I get it. I get it. But yeah, dope movie, but definitely one of the main ones that my perspective kind of switched on.
Coincidentally, I just watched this maybe 2 weeks ago before you even say anything about it.
For the first time?
No, just after just revisiting.
And you watched the whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh. And how did you feel about it as a man?
Now rewinding back to this dude when she was getting ready for the dinner party. While she's getting ready for the dinner party, he uninvites her to the dinner party that she kind of says she didn't want to go to anyway, but because he was going, and he was like, yeah, she would not like it if you were here.
The way he
did it was
the audacity. Like
niggas ain't shit, but that nigga ain't that
he
shit. And I'm
he.
not agreeing that niggas ain't shit, but if
I mean,
he was not shit
at all.
at all, and left her there.
She said, "Well, all the time I was loving you, you was busy loving yourself."
But that was the day he left that day too. He went
11 years.
he went to the dinner party and never came back. Don't you realize that, right? He said,
Yeah.
I'll come back and get my.
But if
things
I
later."
remember correctly, because it's been so long since I watched this, didn't at some point he try to come back?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I don't know why I ever thought he tried to circle back and was like, "Oh, I
No,
messed up."
the next time we saw him was in divorce court in the court when she got all his like offshore accounts and all this other stuff that he would have.
Whew, yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, that's that. So speaking of niggas ain't shit, Mr. Beach, we're gonna go move on to this next movie, Soul Food. Now, let me tell you about Soul Food. Soul Food is definitely one of those movies that I have watched so many times. So many times. Now, you know what? On this picture at the bottom right, the tall guy, that's the guy that I was talking about. That's who took Whitney on that first date and Waiting to Exhale.
Oh, right. He wasn't. Yeah, he was.
Yep. That was the same. Because when he came on the thing, I was like, Kenny.
He uses her toothbrush.
The same one. So yeah, it was funny.
She
how
still
all
fucked
of this
him.
Kind of funny how all of this like crosses over. But Soul Food is definitely one of those movies that I watch quite a few times. Here's the thing with Soul Food, right? Back then, I really thought Terry was a bitch. Why she always mad? Why she always complaining? Why she always got all these problems? Like, what is the problem, right? Oh, well, then you get older and you realize Terry was not the villain. Terry actually needed to be saved from this chaotic mess. Now, let's take a journey. And I also think it's crazy. I just noticed that they have her picture like the biggest in the middle. Yeah. And speaking of, let's take this journey. Terry paid for Bird's wedding, Bird's salon, took care of all Big Mama's medical bills and Big Mama's house. Her other sister to the right hand side, I don't know why I can't remember her name. Bird, Terry, and True.
What sister
I
on
can't
the right
remember
hand
that
side?
girl name.
Oh, Vivica Fox?
Yeah, I don't know why I don't remember her sister's name.
I can't remember her name. I'll find it.
Here's the thing that her sister slept with her boyfriend when they were younger, Kenny at the bottom. Yeah. Slept with him and then married him eventually and had kids with him. So at this point, the whole family. Maxine. Yes. So Maxine slept with her sister's boyfriend when they were younger and then married him and had kids with him. Now, let's talk about Terry's husband, Miles. Miles, again, was a liar. He was a thief, but he was also a cheat because he cheated with cousin Faith.
What was he stealing?
I thought, if I remember correctly, I thought he stole money from her for his music thing, and he didn't tell her about it. He quit his job and took money out of her. Yeah, because he was pursuing his music career. Now, mind you, the music sound good. Again, two things to be true at the same time. But you fucked her cousin, Faith, right? Faith just decided to show up, and here's Terry. I'm gonna give her a place to stay, and then she walked in the studio, and your husband doing up your cousin. Now, one thing I vividly remember from Soul Food, being younger. That was a hell of a sex scene back in the day. I was like, oh, the wall, like it was intriguing. It was back in the day. It was like, oh,
it was
like
the place, and it was the lead up to it,
and it was the lead. I remember the whole That's one thing I'll say about that. But Terry just carried so much. Even when I think Lim started going crazy on Bird. And what Terry do? Made a little call and was like, hey, y'all come handle my light work. I'll pay you. Took care of it. Like, she took care of everything, but the family did not in turn take care of her. And all of this time, it's like, you just think like, oh, she's being a bitch. And it's like, no, she's literally carrying this family on her back. And it's not being reciprocated. Nobody cares about stressing her out. Nobody cares about draining her of her money. Like, nobody cares about any of that. Everybody just has their own motives, and when they need help, they run to her, and she's just supposed to fix it. And that it was never healthy for her.
I feel like if this Soul Food was a novel,
It was.
Ter-
I think didn't Soul Food have a book, or was that Waiting to Excel? I think Waiting to Excel was a book.
Waiting to Excel definitely was a book.
Soul Food, I'm not sure. Soul Food, I know was a series, which I completely forgot about. I don't know if it was a book or not, but go ahead.
No,
I'm
but
sorry.
I feel like if it was one, she would be the main character.
Oh, for sure.
She would be the main character because she was the way they developed her in the movie was almost like she was like she wasn't the main character. You know what I mean?
But even when you look at this picture and the way they did it, it was almost like she was, because she's the biggest one.
How'd you feel about the boy being the narrator?
I like that. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that it was interesting being able to view all of these things from a child's eyes, because I think a lot of times when things are going on just in general in families, whether good or bad, especially as heavy as the situations that occurred in this movie, the kids sometimes are forgotten. You know, it was him and his little sisters, and they're kind of just being shuffled around from point A to point B, and nobody's really asking them how are they doing or how do they feel. I thought that was definitely one of the things that I liked being able to see, because he saw a lot. He heard a lot of things that he shouldn't have saw, and a lot of things he shouldn't have heard. But I actually enjoyed that part. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that's something that I kind of forgot. I would have been interested to see how that changed him growing up, as far as how he moved through the family and moved through life.
Ooh, are you projecting a sequel?
I would have liked to kind of see,
him growing up as at least a teenager. Maybe?
Yeah, because you know how when you grow up,
would he get a decent fade? Because his hair was terrible.
Oh my god. I mean, first of all, these haircuts in the 90s and a lot of these movies were trash. Oh, you know what I thought about too? At the bottom, if you can see it on the screen, the picture says 2 thumbs up. I'm like, oh, Siskel and Ebert. Remember they used to rate movies and give it 2 thumbs up? Like,
they gave it 2 thumbs up.
Back in the day. Yeah. I was like, okay.
It's not the typical
now
black
it's Rotten
film.
Tomatoes. What do you mean?
It's not a story that has been repeated. Like so many movies have a story that has been recycled. This story is a little bit, it's relatable, but yet it's not one that has been like, there's nothing that came out after this. I'm like, oh, that's just like soul food.
That's interesting. I guess I didn't think about it like that.
Like this Christmas could be, because I kind of got them a little mixed up a little bit.
Oh yeah,
just a little bit. Like when I think back on it, not that I think that they're the same movie, but I was like, oh no, wait, that's this Christmas. Because I was like, wasn't Chris Brown in Soul Food? Like I'll say something that. I'll say something like that, but I get the cast mixed up.
I was like 10,
because even that's a little bit different.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And again, it's kind of interesting bringing it back, the crossovers in a lot of these movies. Because listen, back then, the black actors and the actresses, they were working. Like Nia Long, Vivica, Vanessa Williams, like they were doing movies back to back. I mean, booked and busy. But yeah, that was Soul Food. Definitely another movie that you look at completely different. Like Terry needed out. Terry needed a new family. They didn't appreciate her.
He came back at the end, didn't he?
Who you mean?
Her husband.
Miles. I think he did try to come back.
When he came back and had a dinner again, he came back to dinner.
She took him back though, I think. Or did I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I feel like I blanked him out after a while.
I haven't watched this one in a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So next up, we are going to move into a thin line between love and hate. All right. Now. Okay, where do I begin? First of all, I don't know if anybody noticed this. This might be a fun fact, maybe not fun. I don't know. In this movie, did y'all notice that there's something wrong with Martin Lawrence's eye the whole movie? It was swollen, droopy, and it was like red. Like he busted a blood vessel or something. I don't know if anybody noticed that. It's kind of weird.
I did. You know what?
It was droopy and it was like red. It was just weird. The entire movie.
I'm going to say again, and I'm probably going to give them props, and they don't deserve props. But you can see most of these movies, if not all of them, on Tubi.
On Tubi, yeah.
But I did watch Love and Hate, and I think there was a sign. I thought I saw something like that. It was deep in the movie, thinking that because he was stressing him out. He was stressing him the fuck out. And I thought maybe that's what they were implying. But I was like, was that a blood vessel?
No, that was before she even came into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what was wrong with him? Like,
Mm.
But yes, thin line between love and hate. Now, here's the thing. Of course, watching this younger, which I mean, I probably shouldn't have been. The immediate and the only thought that I had was Brandy was absolutely insane. Oh my God, he needs help. What is she doing? Why is she doing that? This is not okay. But you grow up, you go through some shit. Then there's niggas. Now, yes, Brandy was crazy, but he deserved it. Here's why. Let's take a journey. So, Brandy told him repeatedly that she wasn't what he wanted. Leave her alone. She wasn't all the way there. Don't do it. She was really trying to save him the whole time. But no, he wanted to be the one to humble her. He wanted to be the one to tie her down, to calm her down. He wanted the notoriety. So he started chasing. Again, she's pushing back. Nah, this ain't what you want. Now, this how you know, like, men are easy. It don't take much to do them up. It don't take much at all. If he had did his research, he would have seen, hey, she literally unalived somebody. Like, if you did your research, you would have saw that she was really trying to save your life. But no, you kept going, kept pushing. Then she snapped. So now you tied up in her house, bleeding, getting pistol whipped and everything else. And you didn't have to be there in that situation. Now, one thing I noticed about this movie, Della Reese played his mom, and then Melinda Williams played his sister. I wondered about the dynamic between him and his mom. I feel like anytime his mom was in the picture with him, it was almost like she didn't want him to be there. Like, it felt like he just annoyed her and she just was not a fan. But then when the sister came in, it was like, oh my God, my baby, my this, my that. And it made me wonder if he treated women the way that he did because he was lacking the attention and the love that he needed from his mom. Now, of course, she stepped up when Brandy had came over and was acting crazy, but I thought about like the way she was treating him and if that kind of played into how he moved with women. Another thing that confused me about this movie. So Mia was played by Regina King, and it probably confused me because it's been so long since I've seen this movie. Eventually, he ended up dating Mia, but what was confusing about me, and maybe somebody can clarify, when he first met her at the club, he was into her, but then the other dude came into the picture, and I can't remember what his name is. I know his face, but I can't remember his name. And then she started dating dude because
that was Joanna Man.
Joanna Man, that's not his real name.
I know.
That's exactly who I'm talking about too. When her and Darnell were playing basketball, he showed up in the car. She ran to the car, kissed him, and came back. And then she asked Darnell, like, "Oh, like, you okay? Like, did that make you upset?" So I'm like, wait a minute, like, was her and the dude together, or was her and Darnell together? That kind of confused me. You said what?
Miguel
Nunez, yes. That the relationship she had with him confused me. I don't know if she was bouncing back and forth. I wasn't exactly sure on that. But yeah, Brandy, I'm not saying that Brandy was right. I'm just saying that I feel like she warned him and he did not heed that warning. I mean, you took her limo to another bitch house on her birthday, took this girl out, stayed out all night, spent the night with her limo outside the whole night. And you thought that she wasn't going to react to that? Like, it was her birthday. And you have the audacity to be mad at her? Like, again, no, she wasn't right, but you were not right either. And you should not have done that. You should have left her alone, like she said. So the lesson here is when people tell you don't play with them, when people tell you to be careful and they are giving you warnings, heed those warnings. They're giving them to you for a reason, and they could be life-saving. Thankfully, things didn't end a lot more tragically for him, but it could have. So, as a grown-ass woman, this movie, definitely different perspectives. Because I'm like, yeah, he had you fucked up. You do what you need to do.
All right. So, from the male perspective of a man who grew up in the 90s as, I guess, I mean, Martin a little older than me. I think about
Is he?
4 or 5. I think about 5 years old, maybe
Yeah.
4 or 5 years older. And Bobby Brown. I mean, they're all the same.
Bobby Brown. I was just telling Tommy, I completely forgot that Bobby Brown was in this movie.
Yep, that was his homeboy.
Homie.
So they owned a club.
Yep.
They owned a nightclub.
Yes, Chocolate City, chocolate something.
City, yeah. And the life of a club promoter or a club owner in a big city warrants you to be in the limelight and have a lot of attention to a lot of girls. I'm not saying this is an excuse, but that was their lifestyle, and that was the lifestyle they led. So regardless of how he felt about Brandy, this is like real life shit. No matter how he felt about Brandy at the club, he was who he was, and he was going to try to mac on whoever. Because remember, he was walking through, and everybody was like, "Hey, hey, hey, hey!"
Mm-hmm.
Brandy, even Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to stop and kind of give her some more extra attention. But then he turned his attention to the crazy chick. But
Brandy is a crazy chick. You talking about
Brandy,
Mia?
Mia, I'm sorry, Brandy. Yeah, he turned his attention to Brandy, but Mia was there too, trying to.
And it's like, I get that, but let it stay at the club. I feel like that
Mhm.
persona was who he was, because it wasn't just at the club;
Right.
it was outside the club as well.
Right. Well, that he was living that life,
and there was no separation between the two.
And he refused to,
Yeah.
to return back. And so, real life, if it ended and he did end up with Mia, he fucked over.
Yeah,
he cheated on her,
and that was unfair to bring
part 2.
Yeah, and that's another part 2. Ooh, I don't know if I guess I would kind of be curious what happened with Brandy, but I think we kind of know. It'll just be the next victim. For you just said something and I was going to respond to it. You said a part 2 me. Oh, it wasn't fair for him to bring Mia into that. I think that could have ended very horribly. Like, you knew you had this mess going on with this girl. And true, and I'll give him credit for the fact that he did break away from Mia, because he said that he didn't want her to be in the mess with him and Brandy. I get it. But I think that by the time he made that decision, it was already too late. And the decision should have been made way before that. Mia should have listened to her friend Peaches and went on about her business and went back to the Air Force or wherever it was she was going, because he didn't mean her any good. He didn't. So I am going to sprinkle in to my flow movies that I didn't care for. And I think the 2 of them are probably going to be pretty shocking because most people like them. But they were just.
I did not know this was the order. All right.
My judge. What you? Oh yeah. So you can put up the.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know when you put in the order that this is what
y'all can judge me all you want to. Poetic Justice. Now, I am not saying that this was the worst movie ever, but for me, it's definitely a one and done, or it's one of those. There's nothing else on TV, so I'm gonna watch this. Now, let me tell you why. To me, the movie was boring. We know Janet. Shout out to Janet. I feel like Janet is so like timid and so like, and it kind of carried her through the movie. My favorite thing about this is the Poetic Justice braid. The braid, that's probably my favorite thing about the movie. And let me say, Tupac as an actor, I love Tupac as an actor. Like, the movies that he has done, the acting that he's done, I think that he's a very good actor. I will say that. What I remember from seeing a documentary about this movie, and this might be the reason why the movie was so blah to me, it was said that Janet and Tupac had an excellent chemistry on set. But Janet had to hold back on that chemistry and not act on it as heavily as she should have. I feel like if she did, it would have been better for me. The reason why she held back so much was because her man was on set. Her man was in the movie. Now, I don't know. He eventually became her husband. I don't know if he was her husband in the movie then, but another fun fact. If you remember the post office scene with Tupac and Guy Torry, there was a Hispanic in that scene. That was her man. It wasn't?
her man was at that point was actually Q-Tip.
She was married to. Are you sure?
Q-Tip and that's where he met. That's where he got it. Because
No, somebody in real life.
no, I'm talking about in real life. In real life, in the beginning of the movie, Q-Tip is the boyfriend who got killed.
Yes, yes, yeah, he is for sure.
And
yes, I remember that part.
They had a thing. They had a thing for a second.
I saw a documentary, and I'm gonna look up the documentary and put it in a comment. Ooh, that was a long time ago, so I would have to figure it out. But they said that the guy that she was with the guy that was there, and that's what held her back from having the chemistry, because she wanted to make sure she was respectful. Now, maybe the guy that they were talking about was Q-Tip, but they said that it was the guy in the post office scene.
It's a Q-Tip and Janet Jackson dated after the two met on the set of the film Poetic Justice. Then they collaborated with Got Till It's Gone, because he produced that song for her.
Look up maybe type in Janet Jackson husband.
I know that's the photographer.
What's his name? Renee or something?
Yeah,
I could be getting mixed up. But yeah, so I just feel like the movie for me, like I said, was a one and done. I feel like it was boring. It could have just been, and I understand in the movie, like she was grieving. She had so many deaths back to back.
Renee.
But it was Renee. Do we say what year they got married?
This is crazy. It said they were married in 1991. So
they would have been married by the time this movie came out then, right? Let me see. Yeah, what year did this movie? Why are you looking that up? Yeah. I'm going to look up Poetic.
I think Poetic Justice came out in 93.
How long were they married for? Yep, the Poetic Justice came out in 93.
They were married in 91, then divorced in 2003.
So she was married to him for a long time. I wonder, was she cheating on him?
I know they connected.
Was Janet Jackson husband in
so that if that the Q-Tip thing must be it must not be completely true then.
Justice. I mean, it could be. I don't know what she was doing behind the scenes.
Anyway. All right.
I don't. He's director and composer known for Poetic Justice. Yeah. So he was often visited. Okay, this might be where I got it from. Actually, I think I'm coming up on it. Let me see. So they said that he often visited the set. Maybe he wasn't in it. Maybe he just visited. He was a big part of helping to craft Jackson's sexier public image. Oh, and then Jackson hasn't been shy about her feelings for Tupac. She said he was crazy, but she loved him. But yeah, I just feel like I wanted more. One funny thing that I noticed, that one part when she was like, "You want to smell my punani?" And then the girl came up and was like, ah. Back then I didn't know what that was. So it's later on I was like, oh, that's what she was talking about. Revelation. But yeah, this is a movie that I definitely never I don't ever have to see it again.
I can agree with you.
I apologize. I just feel like,
as you described, it was boring. I think we were drawn into it because Pac was in it, and that was
sure.
That was the blossoming of Pac. His album he had just
he was at his height. Like
he was blowing up underground as who he was. This is back when rappers wasn't always in movies, but you know they started to be in movies at this point. And
he, like I said, he was good at it. He was enjoyable, like in his different movies that I can think of. He was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and one thing that I'll acknowledge, I think I forgot to mention at the beginning, is a lot of my perspective. Again, anybody who knows me knows, like I'm well, not in this season of my life. I'm trying to get back to it, but definitely a sucker for love. Like I love anything love related. I'm all over it. Heart emojis come out of my eyes, all of it. And with a lot of these movies, there was like a heavy love aspect. And I think that's what kind of blinded me. For me, it was like, oh, they love each other. This is so cute. And then your perspective changes. But even here, I don't even want to say it was a heavy love aspect. I don't know. Now, another fact, and I'm not going to call it fun because it's actually tragic. Put up the picture with the shoot 'em up, bang, bang guy. I don't think it's the next slide. Did you put it? It might be the last one.
Oh,
At the end. Mhm.
yeah, I know what you're about.
So one thing that I found out, shout out to Monte, there. So if you remember Poetic Justice, there was a scene where she was at the drive-in with her boyfriend, who was Q-Tip, and he went to go get her snacks. He was spotted, and then there ended up being a shootout, and he got killed right there in front of her. He was killed by this guy. I just discovered this last night when I was watching some type of clip, and I was like, why does he look familiar? He looked like the dude from Boys in the Hood. Wanna know why? Because it's the nigga that killed Ricky in Boys in the Hood. So he killed Janet's boyfriend in Poetic Justice. Then he was killing Ricky. And I don't know the order of these movies coming out, but yeah, he was killing niggas. Now, this is the sad part that Monte told me. This guy actually went to jail and he was killed